Good afternoon. Welcome to Ask AJ. If you haven't seen me before, I'm sure you have, but if you haven't, I'm Phil Jones, and who are you?
I'm Tom Scott.
What do you do here, Thomas?
So I'm the Senior Property Consultant for Ashdown Jones Group.
Yes. What do I do? I'm not sure what I do. It's a good question. So if you have got a unique home in the Lakes, Dales, or anywhere in between around the Lune Valley, then it's more than likely Tom who you would see can help. I've dragged Tom onto this because, why? Why have I dragged you onto this?
In a previous life, I used to work in holiday lettings.
Yes.
And market's changed a lot since then, but in terms of what I did, it was about similar sort of thing, about advising you want to have a holiday let, how to position it, pricing, a lot of things in terms of that. So that was long before I started doing this.
Yes, and I'm sure, you may have seen in the news that, and it's been talked about for a while, that they're trying to control, Tim Farron's big on this, trying to control the number of holiday homes and holiday lets, specifically holiday lets at the moment, within the prime areas of the lakes and the dales and in between. And there was a Scottish model that came in last year, was it?
I think about 2 years
was
ago,
it?
actually.
A few years ago, where you have to have a licence, or you have to have something to say, yes, you can holiday let it. So rather than me trying to explain it, I'm just going to read an article really quickly. So new controls on holiday lets in England will be introduced from the summer to stop local people being able to afford to live in their own community. The government has announced. So that's an opinion that we'll come back to. The changes mean people may need to seek permission from the council to turn their home into a short-term let. The rules will not apply to people renting out their main home for less than 90 nights a year, which straight away I thought that's going to be a challenge to police. Hotels, hostels and B&Bs are obviously unaffected by the changes, which is another aspect of it. The councils will have the power to require planning permission for properties to be turned into short-term lets if they deem this necessary. Only new short-term lets would require planning permission, while existing ones automatically reclassified, which is a really key point. So, so if we think about what problem are they trying to solve?
I think the idea is to sort of condense down how many holiday lets there are in a particular village, especially the ones where there's the holiday let supersedes the amount of actual people who live there.
Like Elterwater, I guess.
Yeah, sort of place like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think everybody would agree. I think everybody would agree that the idea is probably the right way to go. It's not nice to go to Elterwater in the middle of January and there's no one there. However, there are lots of challenges with this idea. The first being that all holiday lets that are currently holiday lets are going to remain holiday lets. So I guess over time that number will reduce because people will sell them and live in them, etc. What do you think it's going to do to... Because I guess another side of this is they're trying to control property prices, aren't they? Because they're saying, especially let's say Windermere as an example, it's extremely difficult for first-time buyers to buy a house in Windermere. So they have to move out of Windermere to other areas. So what do you think is the impact on holiday let property? So it's already a holiday let, they get a licence, what do you think is the impact on that, the value of that property?
I think that will add a bit more value to it because they're already established, they already have the licence, so any potential buyers that will come and buy one, it's in a better position than one where you're trying to buy it, that's already not a holiday let. Become one, that I think will be the challenge because they'll have a certain criteria, I feel, they'll have to, a quota.
Do you think they'll have a number in their head?
I think there'll be a certain number, that's what in sort of Scotland there was a certain number.
And what's that number? So I think they were going to try to this summer. I think that they've got no chance of it being this summer. It's more likely to be next April. Do you think that, let's say, 5,000 properties in the northwest of England go and say, right, we're holiday lets, we want the licence? Do you think that's where they set the bar? So any after that is probably a no?
I think they'll look at what they have and sort of say we can take that plus a bit more, and then because the same ones coming and going from being holiday lets or being sold, I feel.
And then there'll be a waiting list.
I think based on my experience of the ones when they did it in Scotland when I was in the industry,
yeah,
people just get rejected,
and that's it.
And you have to apply again and sort of see it and keep going through the process.
Is there a cost to apply?
No, it wasn't at the time.
So what did you get rejected on? What's the reason they rejected it?
It was rejected based on location was key. Say for example in Scotland, Edinburgh, Glasgow got rejected a lot because there was so many there.
Edinburgh's big on it, isn't it?
Exactly, and it's places like you say like Elterwater or a little village like Chapel style.
Yeah.
You know, if there's a huge amount there, they're more likely to get it turned down.
Yeah.
But I would say ones that I would say holiday rental companies, like the big ones, will have a better chance because of whether they're an established agent rather than people who are doing it themselves.
Right, okay.
Through say Airbnb or just off their own back. I think they will have the challenge trying to get through because it's the Airbnb side I feel like they're trying to cut down on.
Well, Edinburgh, if you use Airbnb in, I think it's just Edinburgh at the moment, then you've got to pay extra fees for stuff like bins and other services. So, and there are cities around the world, is it New York, was it LA, that banned Airbnb completely?
Oh.
I'm sure it's one of them. So yeah, there's definitely a push against Airbnb. So what do you think? So what do you think will be the impact on property values that aren't holiday lets? Do you think there'll be an impact at all?
I think that will remain as it is. I can't see that changing. I think just because people will be buying as they usually would in that respect. I don't see that change. I think it will increase the premium on ones that are holiday lets. I think the only change that could happen is ones that someone's bought as a holiday can't get approval.
Yeah.
And then that will affect their value because that might change because you can't then go for a holiday if it's been rejected.
Yeah, I think from certainly what I hear from buyers and from the team, I don't think people buying to turn something that isn't a holiday let into a holiday let is that common.
I think when I used to work in this industry, a lot of the instructions I got actually were that side of things.
What we see, I mean, I might be wrong. I can't really think of many that we sold and are into holiday lets.
No, I think in terms of the market that we're in, I agree. There's not many where they buy them to make them into holiday. They buy it because it's established already.
Yeah.
And take over. I think it's usually sort of the smaller homes like the 1, 2, 3 cottages. Yeah. Which are the ones that really clamp down on for the locals. Are the ones that want to move into. So that's sort of the market will mainly hit. But like I say, I agree. We don't really get many of them buying to rent out. To me, it just feels like it's fraught with legal challenges and danger, and the 90 days thing feels like it's going to be abused, and I'm not really sure where I sit on it. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel fair as well. That just because you've already got one, it means another person can't have one, and because situations change. So I don't know whether I'd prefer you get a license for 2 years and then you're going to reapply, or I don't know. It just doesn't, because if I was if I lived in and around, I was in Ostwick this morning. That's a beautiful area, and I had a home there that potentially could be a holiday let, and I had no intention of holiday letting it. I'd probably be looking at trying to find a way to pass whatever they tell me allows me to be a holiday let, and therefore you automatically get a license. So is that it has to be let out X number of days over a certain period? And I'd probably invite my family to stay for a period of time, because yes, I don't want it to be a holiday, and I might not want it to be a holiday for 10 years, but when I sell it in 10 years, I want the option of the buyer to be able to use it as a holiday, because it means my house is worth more. So surely that's going to be going on as well. I think there's so many factors, and especially, like you say, when they did it in Scotland, it didn't work straight away. They had to extend the application period because it wasn't working. They gave an extra year
Right.
to make it work because there's so many bits to iron out. And I know they still haven't worked out in terms of how it looks or how it operates.
No. So how's it working in Scotland? Is it working?
I wouldn't say it. There's people I still speak to. It's extremely difficult for anybody who's sort of in that now in terms of buying a home to rent out as all that is very hard for them.
Right.
Especially in honeypot areas like Glasgow, central Edinburgh. And then you sort of look and say, well, you know, I've got this amazing home that people want to stay in. There's a one-bedroom flat down the road that's falling apart that has a licence.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, there needs to be a criteria and a threshold that they all meet
Yes.
to qualify.
Agree. Because actually, you could probably sit on a licence. I don't know whether there's a criteria whether it has to be let out 90 days in a year or you lose it, and how they're going to test that, because no one's going to admit to that. I think there's another argument here. So I have 3 children, and obviously I want them to be able to afford a house, and I think that's agreed across communities. But also, we don't want to restrict the number of people that come on holiday here, you know, in our areas. They spend a lot more money than locals do on average. They go and eat in all the restaurants. They go and do all the touristy things. They give people jobs, and so I get there's a bad side, but there's also a huge plus side. It's really important we don't forget. It feels like there's a war coming against people with second homes and third homes and fourth homes, and there's a big divide. And I think it's really important we don't forget that they do add a lot to the community in terms of spending.
Definitely.
It's a really tough debate, and I get the strong opinions on either side. I guess there's no right answer. So I totally understand the reason why they're doing it, and Tim Farron's big on it. There are places like Elterwater, I think, makes sense, doesn't it? But then, in my opinion, in Bowness, it doesn't feel like there's too many holiday homes.
No, I agree. Yeah, you sort of get that feel there's still locals around.
A lot, yeah.
It's like you say, certain areas, and you just think, but...
And they thrive off holidaymakers. And what we don't want to do is send people to Benidorm, that's a bad example, send people, actually it's probably a fair example sometimes, send people to Tenerife and these places instead of coming here because there isn't the accommodation. Because what it is going to do, one point we haven't mentioned, the price of holidays is going one way.
Exactly.
Because the market's going to reduce of options. So, yeah, is it going to price people out of coming, or is it, so, yeah, there's a lot to play out, and what we're definitely not saying is we've got the answers. It's just a discussion point, and if you haven't heard that it's happening, then hopefully we've given you a few different counter arguments and see where you sit on it. But it'll be interesting as well for the conversations you have and I have over the next year with holiday let owners and owners of homes that definitely could suit to be a holiday let but aren't a holiday let. What do they need to do? So yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting, especially if when they roll out how it looks and the criteria and how it feels and how it looks in the industry. I think it's going to be very interesting, but just us and the holiday let inside and see where it goes. But it'll be exciting, I think, either way.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it feels like more of a Labour policy than a Tory policy. So I was thinking what impact the impending election's going to have, but possibly none. If it feels more of a left-wing policy than a right-wing policy, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think you might see a bit more coming from it, depending on what happens in the next couple of months.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as it doesn't add VAT to school fees, then I won't mind. But looks like that's coming. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching. We would love to know your opinions. You can either comment below or message us or call us or whatever it may be. But certainly interesting times. And I guess time will be the only thing that will show if this is the right thing or wrong thing. The only thing I hope is that they keep on top of the data and measuring it, and local opinions and a spread of local opinions, not just the loudest, and move that the the number or move the policy. Either way, with results on the ground, rather than going, this is the policy, this is what we're going to stick to, and then it causes real problems locally. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, wait and see. Yeah, so the next year brings.
See you next week.
Oh, thanks, guys.